Hi guys, this is Zach from Watches on You, and today we're going to be doing a comparison between two of the hottest GMT watches currently on the market. On my left, I have the Rolex GMT Master II. Specifically, I have the Root Beer two-tone model, which was a fairly new release by Rolex. I believe it was 2 years ago at Baselworld. And then on my right here, I have the Tudor Black Bay GMT. So this was also released 2 years ago. And this is kind of it's essentially it's Tudor's model of the Black Bay, where it's going to, instead of taking after Rolex's Diver, the Submariner, it's going to be kind of a heritage slash adding, but also add some new elements version of a GMT Master. So specifically, this is obviously based on the Pepsi model of GMT Master II, and this is not. But, however, I don't have access currently right now due to the extreme demand for new ceramic GMT Master IIs, so I have this root beer to compare it to, but there are a lot of similar aspects between this and the steel models, which is probably more comparable to this. So first, let's go over the case dimensions. So the Rolex GMT Master II has a 40 millimeter case, and the Tudor has a 41 millimeter case. So diameter-wise, you don't notice a huge difference. However, I'll almost say, though, based on diameter, that I will say that they wear about the same, and that's due to the fact that the GMT Master has a little bit chunkier lugs. As you can see, the Tudors are fairly slender, and then the GMT Master also has crown guards, while the Tudor does not. Now, the Tudor does have a larger crown, however, still the crown guards, I feel like, add a little bit of heft. One other thing also to take note of is the fact that this one, you can see that the solid end link there, the center one pokes out a little bit, so that's as wide as it is going to get. When on this one, it has a pivoting center lug connecting to the solid end link. So that allows this to get right out and be just as thin as the lugs, versus, as you can see, the Rolex sticks out a little bit past the lugs. So with regards to lug width, they're going to be about the same. Practically. Obviously, the lug-to-lug on this is going to be a bit smaller, but when you add the center link, it's going to be about the same as the Tudor. Not a huge difference in size is what I'm saying with regard to diameter. Now, however, there is going to be a difference with thickness, and the Tudor is going to be quite a bit heftier. It's going to have it's going to be a much more thick case. As you can see, that the Tudor is definitely not as slender as the GMT. I'll show you the side profiles there. And that's due to the fact that the Tudor also has a domed crystal. The main case is thicker due to the thicker movement, and the case back is also a bit thicker there too. So if you're really worried about a slender watch being able to slip under a suit cuff, then the GMT Master would obviously be the better case size for you. However, the one thing I will say is that the Tudor doesn't actually wear as thick as it looks. And that's because of the fact that it does have bevels here, and Tudor added this on the GMT. The standard Black Bays do not have that. And that really allows it to sit much lower and slimly on the wrist. And I'll show you that during the wrist shot, that the Tudor actually isn't as thick when you put it on as it might first appear to be. So now let's go into bracelets. The bracelets are both going to be Oyster bracelets. Now the steel GMT Master IIs are going to have Jubilee bracelets instead of the Oyster. Some people prefer them, some people don't. Not a huge difference. It's really just a personal preference thing. They're both very high quality bracelets. Now, the Tudor does have kind of the faux rivet style that Tudor has become so known for, and just kind of adds a little extra flair to it. This one obviously has the standard Oyster bracelet, and this is a two-tone model, so it has a polished center link in solid gold. With regard to the Tudor clasp is very well done. You can see it has a micro adjust there, and solid bar clasp, feels very nice, locks down very nicely as well. No problems there. Quality is fantastic. I'd say that the quality of the build quality of the Tudor is definitely not matched by any other watches at its price point. The Rolex is also going to be a very high-quality bracelet. You do get the Easy Link, so you can pop it out a half a length in case you need it just throughout the day, which is a great thing to have, and I wish Tudor would include that on their models. And it also does have micro-adjust on the inside. It does not have the glide lock system like the Submariner does. And that's actually one thing I wish Tudor would do. I wish that they would add the Pelagos system, where it has the springs in the clasp on all their watches. It's just such a nice system. Allows for super easy adjustment on the fly, and I wish that they would add that to all their models. So let's go to the dial and movement as well. So the dials, as you can see, are a bit different. The Tudor has a matte black dial, where the Rolex is a glossy. Now the matte black is really due more to kind of harken back to the heritage watches, as all the vintage Rolexes had matte black dials. They weren't glossy at the time. Versus the Rolex is more of a modern, it's really just a modern take on it, so it's going to have a glossy black dial. With regard to bezel, obviously you're getting a ceramic root beer bezel on this. You can also get in the steel models, you can get a black and blue, the Batman, or you can get a Pepsi as well, which is blue and red. Now, I will say that the Tudor's red and blues look much better than the ceramic Pepsis, in my opinion. The ceramic Pepsi bezel, the colors on it, to me, just seems to be a bit toned down, especially the red. The blue I don't mind. The red, to me, just seems very kind of watered down almost. I'm not a huge fan of it. That's why personally I would definitely go for a Batman. I just prefer the look of the Batman in ceramic. But I think that this Tudor one is nice. It's toned down though too from the Pepsi aluminum bezel, because the blue is a bit darker and then the red is kind of a little bit more of a burgundy. It's not quite as bright as the original Pepsis were, which I don't mind. It fits in better with the color schemes of the standard Black Bay, as I'm sure why they did it, because it's about the same red as the red bezel Black Bay and about the same blue as the blue bezel Black Bay. So now, with regards to the handset now, you get the classic Mercedes hands, of course, on the Rolex, and then on the Tudor, you get a snowflake hands all around. You have the snowflake hour hand, snowflake second hand, and snowflake GMT hour hand, which I personally think the snowflake's cool. No other brand has it. It's just a little bit of a unique element and separates you a little bit from the Rolex. And then you have date at 3 o'clock on the Tudor without a Cyclops, and a date at 3 o'clock on the Rolex with a Cyclops. That's really, again, up to personal preference, whether you like a Cyclops or not. I kind of prefer no Cyclops, so that's why I really like the Tudor and how they chose not to do that. But again, personal preference. Some people like the Cyclops, some people don't. No problem. Now let's get to movement. So the movements on these two watches are staggeringly similar. Now the Rolex model, this is 70-hour power reserve at chronometer certified movement. Tudor, 70-hour power reserve, chronometer certified movement. So the only difference that you're really getting on these is that Rolex, they had a plus-minus 2-second certification on top of the chronometer certification, so that's kind of their in-house certification they have put at stricter standards than COSC. Tudor doesn't have the in-house, I believe Tudor at least doesn't have the in-house specifications that they require as well. They stay with the COSC ones, but I know that Tudors tend to be very accurate, and you're not, honestly, in an everyday situation, you're not really going to notice a few extra seconds unless you really pay attention to the accuracy of your watch. But I know when I'm wearing a watch, I just kind of throw it on, not necessarily paying attention to whether it lost 3 seconds or so each day. Now, there also is going to be a big difference on finishing, however. The Tudor is really going to be a no-frills movement. There's going to be really no decoration on it whatsoever. The Rolex is going to have some decoration. Now, being said, Rolex's decoration isn't necessarily like Patek Philippe. You're not getting an insane level of it. It's very well done finishing, but it's not anything extremely special. But then it would have been nice to see Tudor do a little bit more finishing. So that's what you're getting, really, with the difference in price. You're getting the more extravagant styling, the Rolex name, of course. I guess more direct history, definitely, with the GMT Master II, because that is the one that the Tudor is made after. But now let's finally talk price. So this new root beer, these root beers come in at a price of about $17,000. This one comes in at a price of $17,200 as well, and that's just because it's a hot watch right now. They're really not losing any value off of the original retail at all. The Tudor, however, comes in a price of $3,950. Huge price gap. And then also for reference, the steel GMT Master IIs, the Pepsi, the Batman, those come in at $9,250. So you're saving over half the price of a steel GMT Master II by going with the Tudor, which I think is incredible. I think Tudor is able to provide a value here that no other brands really can at this price point. I think that they did a very good job. Obviously you're not getting the Rolex name, and that is going to be a big factor. And yes, the Rolex is going to be a bit better finished than the Tudor, but it's not very noticeable, in my opinion at least. And when you're also talking with the current steel GMT Master IIs, you're going to be paying at least $15,000 for a ceramic GMT Master II now, unless you can somehow sneak your way onto a wait list. Versus the Tudor, yes, there's a wait list for these as well, but they're selling about $4,000 to $4,500 on the secondary market, as opposed to the 15 plus for a ceramic GMT Master II. And 15 is actually a fairly low number for a new GMT Master II on the secondary market. So that's another thing to take into consideration, just the price difference between these two watches. So if you want the Rolex, get the Rolex. If you want the name, you want the direct history of the Rolex, great. However, if you're looking for a very similar, I guess, watch that's going to provide maybe a little bit more unique aesthetic, or you don't quite like the Rolex name, you don't want the attention, I guess, surrounding the name. You don't want people to ask, oh, is your Rolex real? Because I know that question will pop up a lot when people are wearing Rolexes. Tudor's going to fly a little bit more under the radar. It's going to be a little bit more unique than Rolex. So kind of, I guess, choose kind of what you want. Do you want the more extravagant model, or do you want the more toned down, I guess, more humble kind of approach, and while also saving a lot of money? So this video isn't necessarily going to have a huge big end to it saying definitely buy this one model. I'd say that the Tudor definitely provides better value. And I would say on an objective basis. I would say that the Tudor is objectively better than the Rolex. However, subjectively, that's really up to you. Many people will prefer the Rolex GMT Master II, and that's not me saying, like, for me, if you put these two watches next to each other, make them the same price, I'll probably pick the Rolex too. I'm sure anyone will pick the Rolex over the Tudor. But when you bring price into the equation stuff, that's where the questions start to arise. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Which one would you choose? So thank you guys for watching. Remember to like, subscribe, and share. Thanks.